Hey everyone, this is Jennifer Beamer, owner-operator of Expertly Dyed Art by Science, and this is the new show called Fiber Talk. And I'm really excited to launch it because I have lots of fibers now available to me because I am reunited with my home stash in America, and so I'll be able to talk a lot about the different fibers that I have and will be able to get if I don't have them with me here, but I do have quite a lot of fiber. I mean, who doesn't? Anyway, so today is going to be the episode where I talk a little bit about Polwarth, Polwarth. Now, it comes in a variety of colors. You can have white, you can have tans, you can have browns, and I'm sure there's a whole variety sort of in between depending on the individual animal. Now, I bought this when I was still in Korea, and it came from Japan. If you watched, or not watched, if you if you read my blog about compacted locks, it may be lanolin. And I can't import unwashed fleeces to Korea, so I had to have it washed professionally before it came to me. And I always like to make sure that my locks, when I wash the raw fleece, they have just a little bit of lanolin so that they feel kind of smooth, not sticky, not tacky, not any kinds, nothing related to those kinds of words. So it should feel just slightly oily or waxy, but it should slide apart really easily, and it shouldn't grab the neighboring fibers too much if you were to pull them apart. So when I got it washed, I didn't have anything I could do with it at the moment, so I just kept it in my stash in Korea for, I don't know, I want to say close to 2 months. And then when I got back to the States, I noticed that there was absolutely no way that I could process this Polwarth in the state that it is. Now, Polwarth is it's a fine breed, so if you have access to this fleece, be aware that it's going to have a lot of lanolin. It's going to be really soft when it's been washed, but if you're going to buy a whole fleece, know that you're probably going to lose around 40% of the total weight in things like lanolin and dirt, and if they haven't been coated, you're going to be paying also for vegetable matter. So you really want to hunt for a really good price, and be sure, as in one of my other videos talks about, to investigate the fleece if you can in person. We don't always have this luxury, but just know that when you see that price, that's how much the whole fleece is, including those things. So I'm not sure if this is all from the same fleece, because some of the locks are really light in color and some of them are really dark in color. So let me pick out some of these that will probably show up really well with the camera. So here is one of the lighter colored locks. Let's get it to focus a little bit. And here is, where did I put it? Oh, right here. It's in your hand, silly. And here is one of the darker locks. So if I hold them together, hopefully you'll be able to tell the difference. So the lighter lock is on the bottom. Okay. Now, when I first opened up the bag after not having anything to do with it for a couple of months, the locks were extremely compact, and I don't think I even have one that is still kind of in, so when the lock comes off a freshly shorn fleece, it's very tight together, because the way that the crimp grows, there's all these fibers that grow right next to each other, which follow the same sort of crimp line, and so that's what constitutes a lock. But as you can see, this particular lock has lost a lot of definition, and the reason why it's lost a lot of the definition is because it has been washed, so it's opened up and sort of separated from its neighboring fibers. So what I want to do is show you what I do when I pick open locks. And the same thing pretty much applies for most fleeces that I'm going to then drum card if I don't want to use the texture so much. If I'm using the texture, I won't do this. So I've got a little container here. You can see this is the stuff that came out when I was picking open these locks. It's a little bit of vegetable matter and some dust, and then of course there's things like this. Those little blobs, those are called seconds. So because the animal, oh, it stuck to me. Because the animal is in 3 dimensions, when the shear comes through with the clippers, it will end up shearing these teeny little, well, the first pass, it will shorten some of the ones on the sides, but not all the way down to the skin, and then they'll rotate and then make another sweep pass, and then you'll get these little bits of seconds stuck in the fleece, and most of the time they get picked out by people who are selling their fleeces to hand spinners, but if they're selling them to mills, they may not pick as cleanly as you know, an individual might. So if there aren't a lot of seconds in your fleece, then you have a much better fleece than someone who didn't really know or really didn't care, and then you'll have to pick those out yourself. There wasn't a whole lot in this fleece, so I'm pretty sure that the people who sheared this particular sheep or couple of sheep, they were aware of the end user, i.e. us, so they went ahead and did that processing for us. Anyway, so I've got my box, I think it's a shoe box. You can use anything, but basically what you want to do is, I'll put this up here so I don't get schmutz everywhere, is I'll pull open the lock like this, and you see how there's this little seed capsule thing? I'm just going to pick that out by hand. Alright, I'm going to continue this pulling process until it's nice and fluffy. If you have a pair of hand carders, or if you have a flick carder for opening up locks before spinning or before putting them on a drum carder, you can also use them for this process. Now, this isn't exactly important to do before you process with a drum carder. I just like to do it as a big batch all at once so that I don't have to do it while I'm standing there trying to create, because it takes sometimes a while to get all this stuff teased out. Now, I only had 200 grams to start with, and of course I totally didn't even weigh it before I got started. And as a result, I can't actually tell you what the yield was for this, but I will once everything is all picked open, just to see how much of the stuff I actually have. Okay, so there we go. This is mostly good for me. I really like to pull out these knots. Now, it's really teeny, and most people really won't care. The camera doesn't even want to pick it up, but it's this teeny little spot. Now, if you have a stubborn spot like this, sometimes it's just a knot because the fibers get stuck on each other, is I kind of separate and pull. And a lot of times the knot just undoes itself. And what's left is I just take the rest out. So I really like working with clean fleeces. So I kind of belabor this step a little bit. You do not have to do it this way, but this is just a personal preference. And then, just to show you how incredibly fluffy Polwarth is, here we go. So the other night I posted a picture, well, the other night, it could be like a week ago for all you guys know. But I posted a picture that I took where I had sort of a tube of chapstick for scale you know. But this thing is actually a pretty big basket, and it's just all full of this picked open fiber. But, you know, I still have a little bit of the stuff left to go. I wanted to keep some so that I can show you for the video. And I'm going to finish this maybe later today. I just kind of want it to be done. But this is stuff that's already been picked open. It's ready to go. And like I said, I started with 200 grams unwashed. So, you know, this could be maybe 100, 120 grams total. I don't know. I'll have to weigh it and maybe post in the description below how much I ended up getting. But it's just absolutely nuts. So if you are going to be working with Polwarth, keep in mind that this stuff is actually extremely poofy. So when I first started working with Polwarth, it was a few years ago, and the only similar fiber I had experience with in a large quantity was merino. I had used some Rambouillet before, but it was only a small sample. It was enough to make, I think, 3 little small sample skeins, and I mean like a yard. That was it, times 3. So I didn't really have a lot, and so when I started spinning Polwarth, I assumed it would behave very similar to merino, and in some respects it does, but it really poofs open a lot more than the merino does. So if you're going to be using Polwarth, be sure that if you're going to spin it for a project, that you spin it at a slightly smaller wraps per inch count, which means the number will be bigger, than you would anticipate for another fine fiber like merino. So I made the Coro shawl with, I think, it was 85% Polwarth and 15% silk. And the goal was to make a lace weight. And I was trying to get 20 wraps per inch on the washed plied version. It turned out to be somewhere between 16 and 18 wraps per inch because Polwarth just pops up really nicely, and it's a really great aspect if that's what you're looking for. But if you assume that it's going to be a lot like merino, well, you're going to be spinning another batch because it won't be, like, the gauge will be too big. It'll not be appropriate for a project if you have a set gauge in mind. So there you go. Anyway, so if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you have any comments or questions about this video, you can post them below. And if you have any ideas for future videos for this new series, do let me know. And if it's a fiber that is really hard to find, I will do my best to track it down and get a hold of it so that I can make more videos about that in the future. So yeah, if you want, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and as always, thanks for watching. Bye!